It's our final reading, Poetry at Tech, this year. This is the 14th year, T?
14th or 15th, right?
No, can't be. 14th, 2002, 14 years. A long time. We have a really nice reading tonight, two poets. The first poet is Bruce McEver. I'm going to introduce them both separately tonight, briefly as usual, but separately. Bruce McEver, I first met about, I think it was 25 years ago, Bruce, in New York City. He took a class, a poetry writing class that I was teaching at the 92nd Street Y. And we just immediately became friends and have been since then. He's a born and bred Atlantan. Grew up near the airport, out near the airport. His father was a pilot for Delta. And he's a Georgia Tech alum, an IE major, ROTC Navy. After his service time, he got an MBA at Harvard, and then many years later, in fact, he just finished another degree at Harvard fairly recently, an MTS in Religion and Literature. And he's the chairman of Berkshire Capital. He founded this company many years ago and is the chairman of Berkshire Capital. And right now, in the last couple of years, he's been a professor of the practice here at Georgia Tech, and comes here every week in the spring semester. Excuse me. Now, in case you think, what's a guy with a background industrial engineering and an MBA and chairman of a major investment banking company, what's this guy doing here reading and writing poetry? Well, it's not that unusual. It's not that strange. He's published 2 books so far, 2 full-length books of poetry, a couple chapbooks, and has another book forthcoming next year. His most recent book, Scaring Up the Morning, is out there, and you can get, I hope most of you got free copies of this book. We had over 100 of them that we bought to give to the audience, and I'm sure Bruce would be happy to sign it, Scaring Up the Morning. His other books are Full Horizon, and the newest book is Of Lesser Gods. That'll be out in just about a year. But Bruce is there can't be more of a Georgia Tech person than Bruce. He served this university, this great university, in so many ways. He is one of the people who endowed one of the 2 chairs in poetry we have here at Georgia Tech. And I want to make an announcement about something we're very proud of doing. Again, under Bruce's initiative, we started something called the Georgia Poetry Prize. And this is a cooperation between Georgia Tech, the University of Georgia, and Georgia State. It's all right to say to hell with Georgia and football games and stuff like that, but we're partnering with them in this publishing venture. I still tell them we're going to kidnap that dog someday when I meet with them. But the first winner of the prize has already been chosen. I chose the first book. We had over 500 applications, 500 submissions, and I picked a poet. They're all anonymous, but the poet turned out to be a guy named Patrick Salerno, and he's going to read here next winter. The next book will be chosen by David Bottoms at Georgia State. The book after that will be chosen by somebody from the University of Georgia. The University of Georgia Press publishes the books. The winner wins $1,000 and gives 3 different readings, a reading at each one of these different universities in the system, in the Georgia system. So we're, again, this was Bruce's initiative. So we're proud to be cooperating and partnering with the other 2 bigger schools in the system. So please welcome to Georgia Tech, Bruce McEver.
Thank you, Tom. It's always great to be here to read, and it's really remarkable what Tom and Travis and the people at Poetry Tech have put together. for both this school and the community. And also I want to just thank the administration, Dr. Peterson, and is Jackie Royster here tonight?
Yes.
Jackie, for what she does to support our support poetry at Tech, Dr. Usselman also. Anyway, I'm going to read a couple poems from my first two books, and then read some new poems from the other book. This is what's going on in New York. It's nice here, and the trees are flowering in Atlanta, but it's a cold rain in New York. This is called Spring Rain. Cold drops pothole pools along New York's roadways. Traffic grinds slow to work. Horns cry for resolution, needing to get on with things organized around money and time. It's near the end of the flowering, when the Japanese cherries in the park burst into white and pink clouds over green lawns. This is only attraction for the bees who are, well, all about honey. In the spring, nature's agenda is clear. On this damp morning, I run a bridle path littered with petals like confetti spilled after the big game, spilled in the rush to green. This is, I spent a lot of time building my business. I felt like I was just sort of always sleeping in hotel rooms and living out of a suitcase. This is a reflection of it, excuse me. It's called On the Road. I love early mornings in a new hotel. Traveling west and up east on East Coast time. Before room service starts delivery. Searching the lobby or even down in the kitchen for coffee to greet the day with the night clerk. Starting his wake-up calls. I find a paper from the bundle by the revolving door and a town map from the tourist rack to discover where I am and what's happening, having missed the previous day sequestered with clients in the windowless conference room. I hardly notice the busboy picking up last night's glasses and emptying ashtrays to start the lobby over with a worn smile by 7. I began to feel oddly comfortable before the stir of day, unhurried and almost at home in the contrived elegance of overstuffed couches, old marble and mirrors. I wonder how much of my life has been spent, just like my father's, in rented rooms and strange beds, with our precious time neatly folded and packed into suitcases and carried between the unforgiving schedules of people and planes. Thank you. And so later in life you get more advanced and you get to do longer trips. So this one, I've got to find it, excuse me, I didn't mark these things. It's called the People's Park. People's Park. Off Nanking Road, the divide between the French and British concessions in Shanghai, Western ads abound. La Octane and Barberry, BNP and HSBC still compete for storefronts and billboards and billionaires. Chinese characters are no longer chic, banished from the road beyond the People's Park, where I walk at first light. Park is full of choreographed Tai Chi troops stepping and spinning through their dreamlike routines. Wave hands like clouds, repulse monkey. And I just lost the place. A sculptured rock garden with a tea house on a gold and orange carp schooled pond. has the slow dancers all over the paths behind the plantings as human leaves, imitating wind, gracefully concentrating and seeking to be one with the flow. To touch the force that inspires birdsong and vanishes with the morning smog, that balances opposites on the cusp of the yin and the yang, the Tao, the way, before brands became gods. This is called Tulips. I was feeling down one morning, one of these wet, dark mornings, and so I bought some tulips the evening before to sort of pick up my spirit. Tulips surprised me like a yellow sunrise igniting from my coffee table. Bought last night in a cold rain, they stand radiant in a tall vase, leaning toward the window, savoring the morning light. How perfectly they spill, with each leaf folded to embrace the tumbler's edge. Flown from Holland's fields, where we biked last summer between astounding rows of color. They were the fancy of Turkish sultans, gifted to Dutch botanists who hybridized them to be dazzling. Tulip mania became endemic. Then the deluded would trade their home for a single bulb. Today it's big business. This bounty of bulbs, fresh, cut, and air expressed around the world, these bright missionaries come to spread joy through our impersonal cities, come to roust us from our comfortable beds and wake us from our morning slow. All right, I'm reading this one. I think I read this last year, but I'm doing this for Jenny. This is a story, you got to sort of get this one, and I hate to have to explain it, but it's about the death of a mother-in-law and a reoccurrence. It's called a Mystic Visit. I stayed with old friends in Mystic. At the time, blossoms litter the roads in snow-like drifts. With first light, I was aware of a body breathing next to me, a warm whiteness with blonde hair. This was no dream. I was scared to squeeze it, to lose this vision whose ashes I had scattered along a river 3 years ago. But it breathed on and was trying to tell me something emanating goodness to make me understand. She was gone as soon as I thought to hold her. No, don't leave. Stay, show me your face, tell me it's you. She came with first light and fled like the morning's bird song. Downstairs for coffee, I told our friends who ventured a reappearance. After goodbyes, I got on the road and out of the shadow of the town's scant cell service. Messages filled my phone. Her mother had passed last night, and she had to tell me herself, as was her way. My car spun small whirlwinds through the drifts. So, like Thomas, I've never doubted the resurrection after that. This is called On the Island of the Smiling Loon. And this third book is about a story. It's a little bit biographical because it goes through the end of marriage and the beginning of new life. Afternoon rain tingles on the cabin's pane, washing the memory into the lake, moating the pine island. Thunderstorms parade north across Fern Lake as 6 souls drop off to afternoon naps while the long drive here and the news of a lost brother was safe. Despite all efforts to, besides all efforts to forget, betrayal pits your stomach. You know you must forgive or give it up to God. Compassion sleeps with us, sharing an island, and somewhere in the water lilies a loon wails, that haunting sound, hearkening something time-worn, going back to the primordial, clean living and faith, keeping your word. These white and black feathered birds seek clear waters, stand their ground, and mate for life. This is called Easter in Naples. We sit by the club pool for Saturday's visual, lunching on grouper salad and soup. We watch the children thrill in the splash while beyond stretches a white line of beach, the Gulf divided into gradients of green like a ladder to blue heaven. A row of palms crowning the skyline is buzzed by a string of pelicans like ancient guardians challenging a straining biplane's banner proclaiming poker and racing tonight, Fort Myers track. Jesus still has temples to clean, but Naples streets with jacarandas and flowering gaudy yellow seems far from his grim trail. Hard to envision here along streets lined with bougainvillea, blooming magneta, and white magnolias blushing before great houses with Spanish tiles. We have all walked tough trails, like my wife leaving to live with my friend, sending me back to a grief like the death before my first beloved. Here, everyone seems on sabbatical from the north, escaping winters behind high windows shaded by air-rooted banyans. There's no time for grief. Along these placid canals, nested with boats tied in peace at their piers. We all suffer, though, until the old story is retold of the empty tomb. I stay with a woman who, with an eternal smile, yet suffering a grief inside like mine. Together at sunrise service, we enter the mystery as the sound of birds and gulls hearken the growing glow in the east. Her hand in mine is assuring, while behind us is the cold extinction of a full falling moon. This one is a poem that I wrote for a gathering at the American History Museum at a religious symposium. It was supposed to be, it had to be a neutral poem. It could not be one tradition or another, but it needed to be religious. And what this has turned into, the symposium, is an exhibit on the history of the diversity of American religion, which will be in the summer of 2017. So it'll be something to get up to Washington to see. November sunset, Maidstone Island. The peach glow silhouettes of pine churned by the sea's blow, like a bonsai monk contemplating day's end, sheltered by the dunes, sculptured by the same invisibility. Across a narrow causeway over half-ice flyways, a late foursome ambles off the course, joking after a round, relishing their fellowship. Around the bridge, a scattering of swans, like elegant ideas. They graze the waters where they winter and look up in unison above. Long strings of bending V's of geese clamor to descend into the peace of the tidal ponds, ringed with cattails and reeds, mirrored on placid waters and radiant in gloam's half-light. Around this small island, in the middle of it all, the village lights flicker, as they have since men came here and watched the last glory overwhelm the unsayable absence that fills us. Thank you.
One of the things I love about poetry is the great range. There's all kinds of poetry in America, in the world, all kinds of poetry. If you were here a month or so ago and heard Niels Holmberg, the young Finnish poet, and tonight we have an example of that range. It's again something I love. There's something too that's been happening. Older poets like myself been around for a long time, but there's been a lot of innovative, newer, younger poets developing the art form, changing it, expanding it, etc. Marc Bamuthi, Anthony, is one of those poets. He's an arts activist. He's a spoken word artist. He's a performer, a librettist. He was an actor on Broadway as a young man. His poetically based works he's toured with them worldwide. His libretto was commissioned by the Atlanta Ballet Company. He's published essays, he's lectured and performed at over 200 colleges and universities. He's taught at Stanford and at Lehigh University. Right now, he's on a 2-year creative residency project with Arts Ed Tech right here at Georgia Tech. He's on our campus for at least one more year, I believe, one more full year. He is also He's the director of the performing arts at the Yerba Buena Center for the Arts in San Francisco. So he's busy. He gets around, and you're about to see and hear and feel something that I guarantee you've never seen before, and that is going to delight and astonish you. Mark? Yes, you are.
Well, we'll see. I brought my jacket and my shirt and my tie. I was wearing a jacket, shirt, and tie. I just, after our esteemed chair performed, I figured I would just let you know that I have stuff with me. Just in case I could get a job interview afterwards, because poet life. But the reason why I have to take my shirt and tie off is because I sweat a lot. Somewhere between Mother Nature and Father Time is a spiraling myth about a father forever chasing the rising sun. The father is mythic and mystic, a self-destructing missile amidst a monolithic image of what he claims to be. A father forever chasing the rising sun, like the horizon, rushing to the seam of sky and sea. She would give birth in water if she could, but our insurance says that she can't. So we have to compromise natural birthing class, which is easy to come by in the Bay Area where I live. It's the land of all things alternative. And it is almost our turn to share how we are feeling with the rest of our group, right? So we're sitting in a circle, Generation X, our coaches at the chalkboard. Drug-free vaginal birth. Drug-free vaginal birth. Personally, knock me the fuck out. Maybe that's why I was born this sex. I don't possess a woman's strength. Her body's growing to accommodate a new chest and arms and legs and head. You want to do this drug-free? No. Be my guest. Now I'm about to be a guest on the hot seat. Marc Bamuthi, namaste. You are going to be a father next week. Ashe. Please tell us, share, how are you feeling? Feeling? Okay, so I'm supposed to be paying attention to what this lady's saying, but I'm reeling back in a daydream about Mother Nature and Father Time. They're cracking riddles about a cat who's undulating his spine as he strides towards the sun in the east. He thinks he recognizes himself in the rising, but he just cannot see because he's blinded by light, his life like time in a dream. And somewhere there are 8 pairs of future parental eyes staring at me, waiting to see if I'm feeling anything. But all I'm feeling is the Father that I see in my daydream. Feeling the images of mythic men that we see in solar mirrors as we sleep. Feeling hella good. I'm gonna be a father next week. And all of a sudden, I'm feeling like I can't. Move, Makai, you got mountains to climb, skies to fly, seas to seas, seeds to roots, to branches to leaves, the deepest part of God's imagined possibilities billowing like a willowing wind, all one, all men must sow. My son is now 14. 3 months before he was born, my grandfather died 3 times in one night. My grandfather flatlined and revived. He slipped into a coma twice. The last time he came back bragging about this man-child that he just met in the after death, after which his word became flesh, became sacred text. The next testament, my first breath, my firstborn, a boy. And man, he looked just like my granddad. They recently met inside of a revelation while granddad was doing orbital revolutions around his own life. The last time he was confronted at a crossroads by my son Makai, of blood and bone and sacrifice. Sanctified, my granddad said, I cannot wait for you to meet your son. And for the first time, I really understood where the old man was coming from. I believe in him. I must. There's a race to be run, and our folks are losing. Past is prologue, our epicenter is an ancestor's epilogue, an epithet. If we ain't eased that ancestor's burden yet, he used his great-grandfather's death as a scroll to scribe new scripture, whisk a man back to life with unborn whisper. Son, do you know who you are? An ascendant, descendant, deciphered from stars. Intone the indescribable like a shadow, my son. We are men. Bury nothing but bones, cry rivers of tears. Deeply we run, a race to be won, a race To be one, guided like Harriet with visions of sugar plum skinned, hung thin, strange fruit. Our roots reach deep, we men are men. I'm men, I mean, your dean, your duty, your destiny to shadow the ascendant, descendant, deciphered in tone, the indescribable, like a shadow, my son. I know you must move, because of the way you move me. Your destiny to move, like the way you move me. I know you must move because of the way you are. So I'm just gonna go back and forth, and can you imagine doing that in a tie, in a jacket and tie? So, it is a great honor to be here. I came all the way from Oakland, California yesterday. This is, as Tom mentioned, one moment in a series of moments that I'll be spending on campus. So you could have been anywhere in the world, but you came here tonight, and that is not lost on me. Thank you so much. I was here 3 weeks ago performing a piece with the Atlanta Ballet called Home in 7, which is a dance piece based on 6 poems that I wrote about this city. So, since I'm here, figured I'd share 2. This first piece is called Desserts. The southern belle curves her chin slightly upward, ear tilted at a jasmine flower angle skyward, as if expecting the sound of her name to be blown in with the wind. Her shoulders open to the possibility there might yet emerge wings. Mischievous sap sniffing through the synapses of southern tree, bursting like the hint of mint from courtesan's prohibition-era tea through the bark, berry embedded in summer fruit succulence, syruped thin flake meets the tongue, comes running to its wet and then runs away, spreads its daybreak in the mouth like cobbled lie covering high-stake mistake. You ever been kissed by a southern girl? Or better yet, you ever tasted her cooking? Make your mouth feel like it's found its home. You'd be amazed at what a sweet potato is capable of if you bake her right. Whipped into a froth, poured just dry of gooey into a flower bed, left to rise in heat, turned by degrees till turned out from the tops of Pan's hips to the bottom of its sweet southern secrets. Gentlemen, call forth ye powers of woo. Reel in a real housewife. Afternoon moet, photo shoots, Lamborghinis for her and limos for her baggage. Or rather, her luggage. A cad's infiltration into the heart of the coquette, range-roving grand piano sideways glances, the illusion of tepid amusement, 98 degrees, August heat, no sweat, Odyssean wanderer, look no further for home than in the path around the curve of her bottom lip, the strained soft of her cotillion dress, the Mary J. Blige, no more lies, bumping from the Alpine speakers in her whip. Throwback socialization of antebellum South, cracked like a glass ceiling, broken like your feelings if you can't deal with what might emerge from behind the veneer if you really, really want to know what she's thinking about. Lust is pretty, and petite and impossible to keep, of desserts and manicured hands and outrunning the boys, of Nini and Phaedra and Blanche, white shoes, umbrellas, ballerina stance, a lady's poise, of vows and codes, split fortunes and scarlet, of finding home in a southern woman's sweet, refined sugar discreet, chin tilted, waiting to hear her own name to keep close, like a southern belle's secret. This piece is called Atlanta Child. We cool?
Yeah, sorry about that.
It's all good. It's just, it's 2016. That's what happens. I'm reading off my phone and I had to put it on airplane mode so it wouldn't do the same thing.
Well, my button's broken. So
Oh, damn.
I was like, oh man.
It's all good. It was good. It was like ambient noise. It was like girl talk behind the thing. It was good. It was good. You and me. Okay. Before I begin this poem, I have to say that this was, I went to Morehouse College here in Atlanta, Georgia, and had an amazing time. But when I was 6 or 7 years old, I think that this poem, this reality, was the first thing I ever learned about the city. You would never guess it by the silence. Sing to me the song of numb. Requiem for potential wasted in Mamaw's memory. How soon we forget. How mercilessly violent disappeared in the cloak of day, inside the light. A sleepwalk in solitude, swung mood like boomerang, discarded habits of the past keep coming back, stabbing like hateful words in the black of her dark brown eyes. The final cries of too soon gone fly out to the Atlantic to meet ever echoing slave songs. Do you remember the children? Rose bloom fallen away on harmless sojourn home, fixed at the cusp, cupped ears to faint falsettos sung by sirens. My own son is 9 years old, the same age of the youngest among the 30 Atlanta children murdered or disappeared 30 years ago. Do you remember them? You would never guess it by the silence. What a preteen might encounter by chance on his way home, obfuscate the obvious, obliviate all evidence of the ominous, call it history, et facta es lux veritas. A mystery left by the roadside along Camp Creek, speechless evidence of things not seen in advance of thought, precognition caught, asphyxiated dream hung in a chapel, funeral, Sunday, hymnal, dying note. Never completed errands for mothers, disappeared bodies, discarded bicycles, empty swimming pools, vanishing, missing, no child left behind, strangled, stabbed, asphyxiated, choked from breath, to be 9 or 12 or 14 and meet death on your way home. Like an olive tree charred by a bomb, a young ball player killed in the springtime between high school and a scholarship, nothing tender or nostalgic. Perched to the left of a forsaken butterfly wing is a warming full soda can, simmering like a mama's mood after the 4th time she done told you. The phalanx chews amassed like peach tree fruit, obsequious yielding to a yearning question, burned like the burden of proof, a family root, headdress in reflection of attitude, found language to explain the illogic of an Atlanta child murdered. Phrases spin about like drugged dragonflies. When is it okay to release the memory? After how many generations do we become American? When is the end of history? How do you tell a mother to commit herself to repeated memories? Tell me of a man crossing his heart, hoping to die, rehearsing a swan song at a pitch dangling just above audible like autumn wind. Can't make out the words, but all day he's been listening to death sing, a warbled fire-brown gun blast, fire clap, Chattahoochee hymn. Sing a song of a young man gone missing on an ordinary Tuesday, just a whistler's hum from too soon gone in Atlanta in an April-birthed infant May. Sing a song of wanderers, of children, of prayers and pray, of pathology and simplicity, of hopscotch and double dutch, of children's games, of innocence lost, of hangman's cloth, of young ghosts, young words, precious life, tossed by the road on a young man's casual journey home. Thank you. On the other side, sing of black joy in an hour of chaos. A Babel tower fallen, power failing to save us, frames us famous when dead. Our lives matter then. Sure, yeah, man, all lives matter, man, but look at my skin. Black joy. My flesh a flag for the Sabbath. Silver tongue tight like the snap of a noose. Black joy is a serpent. Shedding is a habit. Unskinned, pinned to the pulse of post-race. Crossed twice, hope to die, hope when I do, there is joy on my face. Hope fading. Like a Shepherd Fairy portrait hanging on one nail in the back of the place. Backpack with the black bespoke Baroque era Baroque racks, rocks, racks, ropes, brass tacks. A certain kind of truth is marching on. Glory to the kid on the other side of the scope. The cop ain't shooting at you, he's aiming at a trope. He's got a blind spot in his privileges shaped exactly like him. He's been training by naming large mountains after small men. Paying no attention when the leaves change, when the leaves fall, when it freezes over, when the season frees us all. Somber is the sober of full-lipped smile and spring awakening. Joy is a human right. Yes. Spring is for the taking in. Melanin baking in the solstice shifting framing of the sable skin. Black satin stunning beauty, a culture of the song of dislocation, a people of the water singing to me. Sing of joy right now, before my small boy becomes scary, while he's still able to tell the dancer's story without using his body. Before he masters social forms in an age of technological norms, before his default position is somebody else's voice. Listen, child, it is likely the black psyche is a ventriloquist for American aggression, a territory for transgression in these last flush days of Camelot. These murdered boys are cultural events, scripts for the performance of outrage. Hooded plot, left to rot for hours in blood on the asphalt fields where they're shot. So I sing of salt and moan, of brown and blue, of wanting one more day to get it right, of joy in the living black body and how that matters. The matter of the beating heart, the factor sacrosanct in the scars a soul carves in heaven's palms as it walks earth in heaven's shell. Skin the color of the other side of the stars, dark like the dawn that swallowed Sean Bell. In acceptance of our most excessive expectation, in expectation that our highest selves will prevail. Make joy material. Let the ceremony begin. Let the sacks unmask the task of healing. Open fists to lift the unquenched thirst for grieving. In the wind, a word winds itself into the drawl of a blind wind. Open, vibrant, half of prayer. An arctic blast of free at last, cast in the case of living joy while black. Thanks. I'm going to share one more poem with you. All of these are poems for the body. The piece that I'm currently developing at Georgia Tech, and big up to Travis, big up to Madison, to Jennifer, to Cherie, to everybody at Georgia Tech that's just been, to Tom, all the people that have been so kind to me. Thank you. But I want to throw a special shout out to the First Center for believing enough in the work that I make to stand behind us as a commissioner of the piece. The last piece that I read is from an installation that I made called Black Joy in the Hour of Chaos. That's the invocation of the piece. The first couple of pieces I made, I shared with you, were from a choreo poem called Word Becomes Flesh, which is a series of letters from father to unborn son. All these pieces are meant to move the body. The piece that I'm making at Georgia Tech right now is called Pelota. Any Spanish speakers in here? Cool. Yeah, so ball, literally. But I grew up playing global football, like the sport that the rest of the world cares about. And though I'm a Raiders fan, so I have my own, it's like being a Cubs fan, but more likely to induce concussions. But global football, that's my sport. And the piece that I'm making here won't be here in the 16-17 season. We think in the performing arts in terms of fall and spring as one season. So it will not be here in 16-17, but it'll be here in 17-18. And we developed some of the work here in December. My full company was here. The piece looks at the intersection of global football, the politics of immigration, global economics, and American promise. It's gonna be cool. You should come see it. Okay. And as you can tell, I love my kid. So he is my muse. When the boy turns 5, I am his soccer coach. Because our team is based in East Oakland, and because all the players are black, shouting instructions from the sidelines is a Marcus Garvey Black Star roll call. Fela, pass the ball to Osiris. Sudan, hustle back. Nurambi, Aman, Ajay, Aman, Makai. The boys are running brown prayers. I am teaching them the game as religion. Off 98th, where running isn't a game, where passing is marked by sidewalk altars, 7-day candles, photos taken before graduations that never came to pass. The kids in huddled masses, little legs swinging, little moles blindly digging, trench war skirmishes, the ball squirts out and everybody runs at and sometimes through it. It's beautiful. I mean, who wants to pass the ball? It's primal. You go to where the action is. The boys are doing passing drills. Inside of the foot, run to the cone. Outside of the foot, turn and look. Sweep the leg, not too high. Find your teammate, give it to him. Give him the rock. Dame la pelota. Turn and look, like touch on the rock. Outside of the foot, turn and look. Dame la pelota. The beauty of the game is in its democracy. Everybody shares the ball. A dance about possession. Diplomatic interweb. The Swede passes to the Brazilian, who passes to the Ghanaian German. The deftness of Messi to Iniesta to Neymar to Suarez to Messi to goal, to the feeling of release. How quick to pass, to run, to pass, to joy. Dame la pelota. The illest passer of the ball I've ever seen was a Frenchman born of Algerian folks. Oui, he says, accepting the ball, his face shaped like the northern coast. See the genes get passed down, then colored foreign flag flown. See how we pass when we got a skill they want claimed as they own. The only way to win is if everybody's touching the ball. Pass the rock, share the resource, the goal will come. As it so happens, the summer when I could last run free with the boys is the summer that South Africa hosts the World Cup. Now some of the older brothers of my Pan-African crew of second graders are starting to come around practice. Some of them see global football as Africa Black. One of the older brothers is like 19, chopping me up on the sideline, my assistant, I guess. Kid grew up on 10th and Market in the West and keeps talking about how he's finna stop using the word nigga and how niggas like Jay-Z never put nobody from Brooklyn on. Dudes like Jay-Z just put on their suit and disappear with their money among the white folks. Keeps talking about this magical suit like it's a supervillain costume. Corporate drag makes histories disappear, inhibits accountability to where you came from. Black man in a suit. Goal number 2, teach the boys to pass. Learn from the best that it's in their health's interest not to always be where the action is at. Among the young boys, this is probably the last year I am still fast. Before these kids learn of black bodies as conductor and conduit to cross over, before their hometown endures a long, dry season. My kids are in second grade. This is a few summers before it could possibly occur to them that they have to repeat over and over again that their lives matter. Like, I'm in second grade, dude. Isn't it hecka obvious? I mean, look at me, turn and look, like touch on the rock outside of the foot. Dame la pelota, dame la pelota. The religion requires sacrifice when flesh is the fence between your shackled past and your kids' feckless freedom, passing through holy rites. The body exists simply to pass genetics through for the conceit of evolution, for the promise that a more advanced position is possible, even likely. In East Oakland, the pelota is whizzing around, foot to flight. I think of the kids exchanging the ball like liberation, upfield advance, a dance of habits or language or genes. What would happen if we passed down in blood memory the feeling of being free? The many-colored history of brown, the geographically progressive standards of black beauty, the cherished cadence of brown skin speak. The kids don't give a fuck. This is the ephemeral heirloom of their ancestors' sacrifice. Maybe just a little more time before they have to truly contemplate safety and sides. So I join them in the drill, running as fast as I can before this moment passes. Thanks.
Mark, thank you. Bruce, thank you. Mark, I'm sorry for giving your wrong last name when I introduced you. I walked by your poster 800 times. No, I know a guy named Anthony Joseph, so I must have had that in my head. But I walked by the poster every day, all year. I'm sorry. I'd probably done it before too, but not that I remember. The end of a long year. Again, I think Jackie had to leave. If she didn't, thanks again. Even if she did, thank you, Jackie, for supporting us all year. Kodak Harrison, another flawless year of taking care of our sound, and Kodak's going to be a McEver Professor of Community Outreach next year. Terry Williams here at the Robert C. Williams Paper Museum, and Travis Denton, of course, who's the Associate Director of Poetry at Tech, and every spring he's a McEver Chair in Poetry. Katie Chapel and Teresa Davis, who are McEver Chairs in Community Outreach, Dr. Sarah Higginbotham and Dr. Patty Taylor. South Arts at Tech, and there was one other person somebody told me to, who'd you tell me to thank, Travis? Maybe that's all. Who should I thank? Huh?
Terry.
I did thank Terry. You too. Thank you all. We have our new program for next year will be up pretty soon. We hope to have it up within a couple of weeks. Our programs next year. Another wonderful year. Thank you all for coming to Poetry at Tech.